Over the last few years, I've seen and read various misconceptions about the origins of Halloween. Usually from Christians who've, one way or another, been made to believe the origins of Halloween is that of a devil-worshipping festival from the so-called pagan, pre-Christian times of the ancient Celts. So for this year's Halloween video, instead of a story about another fairy creature from old Irish folklore, I thought I'd do a little exploration of the origins of Halloween, which have nothing to do with the devil at all. The Irish word for Halloween today is Oíche Samhain, meaning the night of Samhain. Samhain is also used as the Irish word for the month of November, Mina Samhain, or the month of Samhain. Samhain itself does not mean Halloween, but has come to be associated with it over the years. Samhain and Halloween are actually two different festivals. Halloween comes from the Christian holy day of All Saints' Day, which was once called All Hallows' Day, and is celebrated on November 1st. The day before, October 31st, was once then called All Hallows' Eve, similar to how December 24th is known as Christmas Eve. And over time, All Hallows' Eve would become shortened to Halloween. As Halloween took place around the time of the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain, both over time would begin to influence one another. Samhain itself was one of the main four festivals in ancient Ireland, and of those four considered one of the two most important alongside Bealtaine, celebrated in May, and today the month of May in Irish is called Bealtaine, just as November is called Samhain. These two were considered the most important as they each marked the main changes of the year. In the case of Samhain, it marked the end of the summer and start of winter, when the days would get darker and colder, the harvest would be at an end, cattle would be brought down from the pastures, and livestock slaughtered for the winter. Some also think Samhain also marked the end of the Celtic year and start of the new. Of course, being a festival from an ancient culture, there were also many superstitious beliefs associated with the time of Samhain, and it is these beliefs that may have led to many conservative Christians and secular sources to deem Halloween an unholy festival. One of the main misunderstandings I've seen come up each year is that Samhain is the name of a Celtic god of death, or the Celtic devil, and that the festival of Samhain was to worship him. This is false. As I've said earlier, Samhain is just the name of the festival that the ancient Celts celebrated to mark this time of the year. There was in fact no form of Celtic god or devil that would be comparable to the devil of Christian or other Abrahamic beliefs. There was one Celtic god who was considered the Lord of the Dead, but not in an evil way. His name was Down, and he was a god believed to have been stuck or banished to one of the Skellig Islands off the Kerry coast. On this island was also believed to be the gateway to the otherworld, the place where the souls of those newly departed would gather to begin their journey to the afterlife. And Down was the one watching over and protecting the gateway, hence why he would become known as the Lord of the Dead. The ancient Celts considered Samhain to be a juncture in the two halves of a year. It was believed to not belong to the old year nor the new year, and as such the Celts believed that this to be a time when the natural order of the living world was out of balance, and our world would become entangled with the other world. They believed this allowed the fairy creatures such as the banshees, leprechauns, puka, and others to enter our world more freely. Most meaning no harm, but some would be known to take the opportunity to get up to some mischief. Some people may have left the last part of their harvest in the fields as an offering to these fairies, in hopes that any mischievous creatures would be satisfied and not cause any harm in that area. If you had to venture away from home on this night, people would wear costumes or disguises to hide themselves from any fairy creatures they may encounter on the road. This is likely where the association of ghosts and demons, and dressing up, and also trick-or-treating, may have originated from for today's Halloween. And of course, as Samhain was considered one of the most important festivals in the ancient calendar, families would gather for great feasts to celebrate. And not only was their belief that the fairy creatures could freely enter our world on this night, but they also believed this time allowed the souls of those departed mortals to re-enter the living world for this one night, and these spirits could return to their homes to visit their families. The souls of thankful kin would be welcomed, and many would save a plate or a seat at the tableside should a departed loved one visit during Samhain and bestow blessings on the family. But just as easily, the soul of a murdered person could return to seek revenge on his or her killer. So, Samhain may not have been celebrated by anyone who was worried about the return of a vengeful victim. Today's tradition of the lighting of bonfires also has its origins in the Celtic festival of Samhain. It is suggested that the lighting of the bonfires was seen as a way of helping to fight the darkness as the days grew shorter, or as a tribute to the sun god to give him strength during this time of rest, so that the sun may return for longer periods of the day again next summer. People would have taken the flames of the bonfire back to their own homes to use it to light their own fires on that night. Some sources suggest that the bonfires may also have been used as a cleansing ritual, that in some places 2 bonfires may have been lit side by side, and cattle would have been walked between each to cleanse them before they would eventually become stored away for the winter months. So Samhain was not a time when ancient people paid tribute to any kind of devil-like deity, merely a festival marking the end of a year and beginning of a new, a time of celebration and a time to be thankful for a good harvest during the summer months, and a time to honour lost loved ones, with a little bit of local superstition and folklore thrown in to liven things up a bit. Likely due to it coming from a culture considered to be pagan, also leads to some worry from many conservative Christians, as the term pagan itself has become associated with evil worship over the centuries. The origins of the term pagan was more so used as a singular term to refer to any non-Christian religion in general, usually those of a polytheistic nature, such as the ancient Greeks, Romans, and of course the ancient Celts. The association of pagans with being evil likely evolved from centuries of misunderstandings and the very human fear of things that are different and unknown.